Over the past few weeks, the city of Frazee has been doing a road construction project. It actually started back in June, I believe, and been planned on for a while. It's taking place on what's called 4th Street, also known as Balsam Avenue, and County Road 118 on the very southeast corner of the city. And there's been an issue that's become of this project because of a piece of concrete asbestos piping. Now, this piece of concrete piping has actually been used throughout the country for a number of years, and frankly in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, asbestos was used in tons of things throughout the country. But it's a red flag issue, and it's a red flag word. Some residents in that area became concerned because of this asbestos concrete pipe that was in the middle of the road and what was going to become of this. And they raised some of these issues to the city back in June. Now, that was the beginning of, I think, some bad feelings on both sides when it comes to this road construction project, and has led to, I think, a delay in the project, as well as a lot of extra money being spent, and who knows who's going to pay for it. Basically, what happened is they became concerned because they heard about this concrete pipe has asbestos in it. We all hear the term asbestos. Red flag word, right? You've seen the commercials on TV. You hear that word, you automatically think of all the people that have died and all the dread that goes with it, even though a lot of that might be overhyped by the media and by different television stations constantly trying to get you to sue somebody for mesothelioma, as you see on TV so often. So basically back in June, they found out about this project, this concrete pipe. They became concerned about it. Brought it up to the city staff. City staff then brought that up with, the contractor, with their engineers. They said this is common practice. Everything is good with the way they're going to handle this concrete pipe, which is, to them, by crushing it and reburying it over. Well, that didn't sit right, I think, with the citizens that live there on Balsam Avenue and 4th Street. Again, asbestos, that big red scary word. So they started looking into this, doing research on their own. And what they found out is the EPA recommendations for dealing with cement piping and concrete piping, like what was in the ground, was not to crush it up like they did in the city of Frazee. In fact, as soon as you do that, you create a landfill, and by crushing it, you actually turn that concrete pipe into a health hazard. And for several weeks, while that area was worked on, that pipe was crushed and thrown around and shoveled from one spot to another. And that got the residents upset because I think they lost trust in the city when it came to this project and with the contractors and the engineers. And here's why. Because they see something happening on the street that makes them feel bad on the inside and doesn't make sense in their head. Again, because of this asbestos, this dark word, this bad word that's in there. Then they go to the EPA website, and it has different rules and regulations clearly spelled out than what they see happening in front of their street. And so they bring it up to the council, but unfortunately by the time it got to the council, the MPCA was already contacted and we began an investigation. But the bad feelings, I think, started by the fact that these citizens brought up their concerns about this asbestos piping and were felt basically like they were ignored, like it wasn't taken seriously. Well, somebody's obviously taken it seriously, because about a month ago, the city of Frazee contracted with a company to clean up this site. Now, I think there's still some dispute over how much it's been cleaned up and how much it's going to cost. I've heard some figures as high as $500,000. I've heard figures as low as $100,000. The reality is, at this moment in time, the city has not received the bill for it, so they do not know exactly how much it's going to cost to clean this stuff up. But let's really look at the reality with this asbestos piping. I did some looking up on the internet when it comes to cancer exposure, because that's exactly what the citizens are saying. They're worried about the exposure. They're worried about the cancer. Well, according to cancer.gov, those who are at risk of cancer from asbestos are this. And they say everyone is exposed to asbestos at some time during their life. Again, this is from cancer.gov. Low levels of asbestos are present in the air, water, soil. However, most people do not become ill from their exposure. People become ill from asbestos are usually those who are exposed on a regular basis, most often at a job where they work directly with the material or through some substantial environmental contact. In fact, I even went on another website, www.lung.org, one with the American Lung Association, talking about comparing asbestos to other chemicals. In fact, the one they compared it to the most, secondhand smoke. They say secondhand smoke is a carcinogen very similar to asbestos. And similar to asbestos usually causes cancer after long, prolonged periods of exposure. So there is no safe amount of asbestos. But frankly, unless you'd get just as upset about somebody smoking outside a cigarette in front of your kids for 3 weeks on end, I don't know if you can be that as much upset about this road project. It's a problem. Needs to be cleaned up. Should have been handled this way. And every community from this point forward here in the Lakes area should take note of how Frazee's had to deal with this issue. And if you got cement, concrete, asbestos piping, don't crush it. Make sure you take it out as a whole piece, because frankly, it's the safest way to do it for everyone.